Hello, yes, hi, and welcome to the Dark Knight Conspiracies, episode 18. This boot is not made for walking. Well, as always, we're seeing action is happening so fast, it's so hard to get out information on a daily basis. But I'll quote the Phil Collins song from the 1980s. This is the land of confusion, and boy, we're seeing it. You got people out there screaming, "Where's the DOJ? Where's the FBI?" We're watching these public hearings. We've seen Pennsylvania, Arizona, Michigan, and Michigan again today, led by Rudy Giuliani. And for people that have watched these, to sit there and honestly say there's been no election fraud, you are kidding yourselves. But yet the mainstream media, they're not covering any of these hearings. So unless you're in tune with what's going on, or you're a Trump supporter, or you live in these areas where these hearings are going on, the people that need to see this aren't seeing this stuff because they're still out there. I've listened to talk radio shows. People call in saying, get over it. Trump should just concede. Let's move on. Nobody's paying attention because they're not seeing this stuff. And, and this, quite frankly, to sit there and say that there's been no voter fraud that's happened in this election, you know, Q has posted, Trump has tweeted, this is not another 4-year election. And this is absolutely correct, people. This ain't about waiting till 2024 to fix things. If this doesn't get fixed now, it's never going to get fixed. And we can kiss our freedoms and Constitution goodbye. Because if the Democrats get control of everything, it's over with. It's over with. It's time to unite, stand up, and start taking our country back. We're the only country left. There's nowhere to run to. So the latest development was Joe Biden walking his dog, playing with his dog, sprained his ankle, and now he's wearing a boot. Now there's several conspiracies with these boots. Now, do I say boots? Well, let's take a look at some history here. We got Hillary Clinton wearing a boot. We got Chelsea Clinton wearing a boot. By the way, head of the Clinton Foundation. Just want to point that out. And the most interesting one is our beloved war hero, John McCain. Now, what's interesting about this photo, he don't know what foot the boot's supposed to be on. Now, some have said the photo on the right could be a product of reverse imaging. Oh, okay, I'll buy that. But he tweeted out his left leg was doing extra work, so he's saying the boot should be on the right foot. Again, this is why this is the conspiracy show. Now, there's many conspiracies surrounding these boots. Some have said these people were under house arrest and were wearing ankle bracelets, GPS monitors. So they were wearing the boots to hide that, so it wouldn't be so obvious. That's one theory. The other theory is this isn't a coincidence. This just look, people normally sprain their foot. Nothing wrong with that. Now, the other theory is when the deep state, or when you don't do what the deep state tells you to do, like the old mob back in the days, they send you a message and they break your ankle. Now, I've heard from two different sources, and again, I can't vet these people. They both claim they're military intelligence. So it's just a conspiracy, in my view, that once Michael Flynn got pardoned, Joe Biden sought out Mitch McConnell to discuss terms of surrender because they know they've lost this voter fraud argument. It's only a matter of time. They cannot win this. And some of the conditions were his and his family were protected. They get to keep their money. And of course, on the other side of the coin, he would concede the election to Donald Trump, and he would give up all the names and information that he had. Now, the theory is Trump administration took this under advisement. Deep State found out about it and decided, no, Joe, you're not going to do that, and broke his ankle. It's fun to play with, but the more reasonable explanation, given how he campaigned in his basement, this is just another excuse for him not to be in public, not to make public appearances, speeches, yada, yada, yada. So to me, that seems more plausible. Keep him in his basement. They don't want him out there. But you do have to ask yourself one question. Why hasn't Kamala Harris given up her Senate seat yet? Logic tells me she knows she's not going to be the vice president, that they're not going to win, and she wants to hold on to her seat. So the idea of this deal is fun to play with. My opinion, if it's true, I think Trump should take it. I'm not going to lose any sleep over Joe Biden walking away if he can give up other people. But more importantly, if Joe Biden were to come out and concede the election to Donald Trump, given everything that's going on, I believe this would prevent a lot of people taking to the streets, so to speak. Now, what's also interesting is when this happened with Biden, Trump tweeted, "Get well soon." Well, he's also done that with some other individuals. He tweeted to John McCain, "Get well soon." He tweeted to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, "Get well soon." I think we all know what happened to those people shortly after. It's not good karma for Trump to tweet to you to get well soon. I'm just saying. So now, getting back to some other topics. James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, came out with an interesting video. Apparently, he's been these news companies, CNN, MSN, Fox News, they have what they call their 4 o'clock talking points. 4 o'clock in the morning, they get their talking points of what they're go out there and talk about and discuss in a certain format. And they have these conference calls to make sure everybody's on the same page. Well, apparently, James O'Keefe has been calling into these conference calls, and this is classic. So he's done this for a while, and he's been recording all of them. Well, his last one that he did, he decided Jeff Zuckerberg, the head of CNN, he decided to chime in and say, "Oh, hey, Jeff, by the way, this is James O'Keefe. I, I've been recording these for the last month, and I'm going to start posting them and releasing them to the public. You people have a good day." And, Zuckerberg shut the whole phone conversation down. But what's interesting about what is going to be released in these audio tapes is them discussing how to shut down and not cover this voter fraud and Donald Trump. These people got caught with their pants down. And we can only hope to God they are going to jail. They have betrayed this country as a news organization. MSN and Fox will soon be right behind them. These people have betrayed us. They have not been telling us the truth. And I'm not talking just a couple of years. I'm talking about going back to the 70s. So now I want to get into the chatter and anger over the DOJ and the FBI. I want to say, calm down, everybody, and I'll quote Star Wars. Anger, hate, and emotion lead to the dark side. It clouds your judgment, it clouds your thinking. You need to take a step back. My rule is give it 48 hours, see what happens, think about it, come to your own logical conclusion. Because I'll be honest right now, the fake news is getting more and more hard to discern right now. And if anybody's ever watched the remake of The Thing with Kurt Russell, there's a scene where they lock up the professor scientist who lost his mind, and he says a line, "I don't know who to trust anymore." This is where we're at right now. Nobody knows where to get their information from. You have to use your own discernment. You're certainly not going to get it off the TV. My only advice is to find some people that you think are credible, that what they say comes true, or they can prove what they say. Those are the people you need to follow because there's so much of this out there. So in Bill Barr's defense, and I've gone back and forth on the fence, I'll be the first one to admit it, and I'll be the first one to admit if I'm wrong. I'm not willing to rule Bill Barr as a deep stater. Everybody is turned on him, and I'm not there yet. I'm going to wait and see how this plays out. Now, doing some investigations on the DOJ, people need to understand the DOJ does not investigate, they prosecute. They rely on other agencies to do the investigation, give them the information, and based on that, they decide whether or not to charge an individual or individuals. So a lot of people say, well, Bill Barr's not doing nothing. Okay, well, what about the Durham investigation? Okay, we don't know where that's at. I'll admit it. But you got to remember when the COVID stuff started and went on, courthouses were shut down. Grand juries could not be convened. Now, Durham could be done with his report. He might not be. New evidence might have come in. Grand juries might still be going on. I can't answer that. I will say this. What is comforting, you have not seen any leaks come out of the DOJ in regards to the Durham report, which means the left has got to be going crazy because if there's no leaks, they don't know where it's at and they're not getting information. Now, in regards to all this voter fraud, Mike Pompeo, a while back, tweeted out a list of people deemed hardliners friendly or unfriendly with the country of China. So let's look at the hardliners. Henry McMasters. Does that name sound familiar to anybody? The general? Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York. Brian Kemp, governor of Georgia. Interesting what's going on in Georgia right now with all this voter fraud and his lack of doing anything, and Trump's attacking him. Ron DeSantis is surprising. So now let's go to the friendlies. Who do we got on here? Oh, Doug Ducey, governor of Arizona. What's going on in Arizona, folks, with the voter fraud? Let's see what some other names on here. Nobody else, I think's involved with this voter fraud. We got Arizona, Maine. Okay, so we get that one, and then we get the last list. Unclear, unknown. Gavin Newsom, nephew of Nancy Pelosi, California governor. Stretchin' Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. Go figure. Mike DeWine, Ohio. By the way, impeachment proceedings have been filed against Whitmer and DeWine. We'll have to see how that plays out. Tom Wolf, Pennsylvania. Kristi Noem, South Dakota. That's a surprise. Greg Abbott, Texas. Another surprise. So, something to consider here. Now, what I think for all you Q people out there that know what the Trump card is but don't know what it really is, here's my view on what the Trump card is. Trump signed Executive Order 13848 in September of 2018 on imposing sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. And I'll leave the links to this in there so you can read this, and I suggest you do read it because it explains a lot. So, Section 1A, not later than 45 days after the conclusion of a United States election, the director of National Intelligence, remember that, the DNI, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate executive departments and agencies, shall conduct an assessment of any information indicating that a foreign government or any person acting as an agent of or on behalf of a foreign government has acted with the intent or purpose of interfering in that election. Persons acting as an agent of, this is why that list that Pompeo put out there is important. These people are going to be tried for treason. Now, it also gives us not later than 45 days. November 3rd was our election. 45 days after the conclusion of the election would take us to December 18th. Now, we all know the Electoral College, I believe, assembles or is named on December 8th and vote on the 14th or 15th. So Trump has until December 18th, and I believe this is the card. Now, what this also goes on to say, the DNI shall deliver the assessment and appropriate supporting information to the President, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, and Secretary of Homeland Security. So, people, I'm just asking you, get off Bill Barr's back for a while. Let's see how this plays out. Look, if he's ratted out as being a deep state, I'll be the first one to admit it. But my first logical question is, why hasn't Trump fired him? The election's over. If he's stonewalling and he's preventing the Durham report from getting out, he's got nothing to lose by firing him at this point. So now something else interesting is a Q post 970 from March 28th of 2018. And Anon posted Free Flynn. Q's response, done in 30. House cleaning. White House secured. AKA Greencastle. Final stage. Flynn was pardoned November 25th. 30 days from November 25th is December 25th, Christmas. A previous show I did talked about how 130 CIA agents got COVID and couldn't stay in the White House. They were all sitting at home. I believe this was when the White House was being secured. House cleaning. We saw the head of the Pentagon replaced. We saw Mark Esper gone, head of the Pentagon. Ezra Watnick Cohen got promoted to the Pentagon under, I believe his name is Chris Miller. Since then, several other Pentagon officials, the head of the ISIS department in charge of ISIS, he resigned. You're starting to see, if you are on the internet and in touch with this stuff is going on behind the scenes. You're not going to see it on TV. I'm not going to tell you again. I know I promote Newsmax and this and that, but you are not going to see this stuff on TV. And if you've got Twitter, Trump put out a video today. I suggest you go look for it. It's so bad that he has to put these type of speeches out on Twitter because the mainstream media won't cover it. It's getting real, and it Get ready, folks. And last, I'll leave you with Psalmist 118:8. Now, before you all start giving me hate mail, I said it that way because Joe Biden last week tried to quote Psalms and called it palmist. Look, the guy might have serious mental issues as far as dementia or whatever, but for somebody to claim to be a devout Catholic and doesn't know how to pronounce Psalms, I'm just saying. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. And it is so true. Man will always let you down. God will not. Now, my personal belief, as we've seen through the history of Bible, God has picked certain individuals to do his bidding. I do believe Donald Trump is one of those individuals. So I would say, to a certain degree, he would be excluded from this because by trusting in Trump, you're also trusting in God. I mean, if he's not protected, how else could he have gotten through 4 years of trials, investigations, special counsels, impeachment? Lord knows how many assassination attempts. You're kidding yourself if you don't think they tried to take this guy out. Only somebody protected by God could come out of all this unscathed. So that's my show for tonight. Keep the faith, stay strong, stay vigilant, stay safe, and we'll talk to you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Good night, everybody.